Can I tell you something a little embarrassing? When I was learning my second language, there was this one moment. I was sitting in a cafe. A friend asked me a very simple question. What do you want to order? And I knew the answer. I knew it in my bones. But my brain, it went somewhere else first. It ran back to my native language, grabbed the words, came back, translated them, and by the time I was ready to speak, the waiter had already moved on. That feeling, that small, quiet humiliation of being one step behind. I have never forgotten it, and I think you know exactly what I am talking about. Welcome to English Unlocked. I am Emma, and today we are going to go deeper than last time. Last time, we talked about why your brain keeps translating, that invisible interpreter booth inside your head. Today, we are going to talk about something even more fundamental. We are going to talk about why thinking in English feels so unnatural, and what is actually happening when someone finally learns to think directly in the language. Because thinking in English is not a talent. It is not something some people have and others don't. It is a frequency. And right now, you are just tuned to the wrong station. Stay with me. Because by the end of this video, something is going to shift. Let me ask you something. When you look at a cup of coffee right now, what happens in your mind? Do you see the object and think the English word coffee directly? Or does your brain take a small detour first, through your own language, before arriving at the English word? For most of you, it is the detour. And that detour, that tiny, almost invisible loop your brain makes, is the reason English feels exhausting. Not because you don't know enough words, but because every single word, every single thought, is making that loop hundreds of times a day. Is it any surprise? You feel tired after 20 minutes of an English conversation? Here is what I want you to understand today. And I am going to say this as clearly as I can. Thinking in English is not about knowing more words. It is about where those words live in your brain. Right now, for most learners, English words live in a translation drawer. You open the drawer, find the English word, check it against your language, confirm it is correct, and then, only then, you use it. That process, open, find, check, confirm, takes time. It takes energy. And under pressure, when someone is looking at you and waiting for you to speak, that drawer gets stuck. What fluent speakers do, what you are building towards, is something different. The English word does not live in a translation drawer anymore. It lives directly next to the thing it describes. Coffee, the word and the warm brown liquid and the smell. They are all connected. No detour, no drawer. Direct. That direct connection. That is thinking in English. And the reason it feels so far away right now is not because you are bad at languages. It is because nobody ever showed you how to build it. There is something in psychology called semantic memory. It is a complicated term. So let me make it simple. Semantic memory is how your brain stores the meaning of things. Not facts, not stories, just what things mean. When you were a child learning your first language, your semantic memory was built through experience. You heard the word hot while touching something warm. You heard rain while getting wet. The word and the experience happened at the same time. So they got stored together, directly connected, no translation needed. But when you learned English as an adult, you probably learned it through your native language. Hot equals a word in your language. Rain equals another word. So the English words did not connect to the experience. They connected to a translation, a middleman. And every time you want to use them, that middleman shows up and slows you down. This is not your fault. This is just how most English teaching works. And it is why so many intelligent, hardworking people who have studied English for years, still feel like they are thinking in slow motion when they speak. And you know what is the funny thing? There is a way out. And it is simpler than you think. I want to tell you about Haruto. Haruto is from Tokyo. He messaged me a few months ago, and honestly, his situation is one I hear all the time. He had studied English for over a decade. His TOEIC score was 850, which is very high. His reading was excellent. His writing was careful and accurate. On paper, Haruto's English was impressive. But in real life? In his company's international meetings, where his colleagues from London and Singapore were speaking, Haruto froze. Every single time. Someone would ask him a direct question, and his brain would start the process. Japanese first, find the meaning, build the English sentence, check the grammar, and by the time he was ready, the conversation had moved on. Without him. He told me, "Emma, I feel like I am always listening to a radio station with bad signal. I can hear the music, but it keeps cutting out. And I can never quite catch the melody." I loved that image because it is exactly right. That is what translation does to your thinking. It gives you the signal, but with interference. And the interference, that constant switching between two languages, makes it almost impossible to follow the natural flow of a conversation. So I asked Haruto one question. I said, "When you think in Japanese, do you ever stop and check your grammar?" He laughed. He said, "Of course not." "Exactly," I said, "because in Japanese you are not translating. You are just thinking. The language and the thoughts are the same thing. That is what we need to build in English. Not more vocabulary, not more grammar rules. The same effortless connection. So how do you actually do it? How do you start building that direct connection between English words and the world around you?" I told Haruto to try something very small. Not a course, not an app. Something he could do. In the first 30 seconds after he woke up every morning. Before he looked at his phone. Before he thought about his schedule. Just 30 seconds. He would open his eyes, look at the ceiling, and think 3 things in English directly. Not translated, just observed. The room is quiet. The light is coming through the curtain. I am warm. Not perfect sentences, not impressive vocabulary, just direct observation. English first. No Japanese in between. Now, this sounds almost too simple, doesn't it? And I understand that. When I first heard this idea myself, I thought, this can't possibly make a difference. But here is what that small habit is actually doing inside your brain. Every time you observe something directly in English, you are creating a new connection. Not between English and your language, between English and reality, between the word quiet and the actual feeling of a quiet room, between warm and the sensation of being under a blanket. These connections are small, but they are direct. And direct connections, even small ones, are the beginning of thinking in English. Your brain is a radio, remember? And every one of these small moments is you turning the dial, slowly, millimeter by millimeter, towards the right frequency. Haruto did this for 2 weeks, just the morning sentences. Then he started adding small moments during the day, narrating his commute quietly in his head. The train is crowded. The man next to me is reading. I hope we are not late. Simple, direct, no translation. After 3 weeks, something happened in a meeting. A colleague asked him a question, and Haruto answered. Not perfectly. He made a small grammar mistake, actually, but he answered immediately, without the long, painful pause, without the translation loop. He sent me a voice message after. He said, "Emma, I think I found the station." Now, I want to be honest with you here, because I think you deserve that. Building direct English thinking is not something that happens in a week. It is not something that happens in a month even. It is a gradual process, like slowly tuning an old radio, finding the frequency bit by bit through the static. There will be days when the static comes back, days when you are tired or stressed or talking about something emotional, and the translation loop returns. That is normal. That is human. Even very fluent speakers have moments like this. What changes is the baseline, the default, the place your brain returns to when things are calm. And with practice, with small, consistent, direct moments in English every day, that baseline slowly, quietly shifts. You stop thinking of English as a foreign code you have to decode. You start thinking of it as another room in your mind, a room that is becoming more familiar every day, a room where the light switch is finally in the right place. I want to end today with a question, and I want you to really sit with this one. Think about the last time you were doing something routine, washing dishes, walking somewhere, waiting for something, and a thought came to you in English, not a translated thought, a direct one, maybe just a word, maybe a short phrase, maybe just a feeling that had an English shape to it. Did that ever happen to you? I think, for most of you, it has. Maybe just once. Maybe just for a second. But it happened. That was not an accident. That was not luck. That was your brain finding the station. Just for a moment, just a glimpse of what it feels like when the interference disappears and the music comes through clearly. That moment is real, and it is yours. And every small, direct English thought you have from this day forward, every morning sentence, every quiet narration, every moment you choose English before your own language, is you turning the dial a little further. You are not starting from zero. You have never been starting from zero. You are just finding the frequency. And I will be here every step of the way. See you in the next lesson.